Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, if you hear you are somewhat struggling, there's a goal that you have in mind, and you want a vehicle to get you towards that goal. Now, before we begin, I want to set the intention for this video, right? This isn't just about chasing money. It's not about quick wins on shortcuts or trends. Most people today are chasing a lot of, different things, whether they realize it or not. And they want to get out of a struggle, a matrix, a life of discontentment. Problem is, those goals feel far away for a lot of people. Not because they're lazy, not because they're incapable, but because they're just trying to jump straight into outcomes without building the means. So, what you're about to see here is not some sort of business pitch, it's not a promise, it's just a simple way of thinking differently about income through skills, value, contribution for a business. This presentation is meant to simplify what feels confusing, to cut through that noise, and to give you a practical path that that actually makes sense especially in 2026. So watch this properly, not as a consumer, because too many of us are consumers, but as someone deciding how they want to move forward, inshallah ta'ala. So these are the real goals that we're chasing today. Okay, you're either one person who wants to do hijrah, or you're either one person that wants to leave the 9 to 5 life, or you're either another person that wants financial stability. Now, subhanallah, you might be all three. You might want to leave the 9 to 5 job because you want financial stability, and you might want to make hijrah in the long term. Either one of us fits in to one of these categories. Now, of course, these goals feel far away because, number one, we don't have a remote income. We want to make hijrah, for example, but we don't have a source of income that moves with us, meaning location freedom and the ability to work from anywhere in the world. No, if you want to leave a 9 to 5 job, you don't have replaceable income. You can't leave that job because you need cash injection, you need cash flow. And then if you have if you are financially unstable, then you'd have unstable income. So you can't move away from this rent, living month to month, or, surviving with just a little bit left at the end of each paycheck, living paycheck to paycheck. You have unstable income. Your current job or your current cash injection is just unstable. It's just not enough. It's insufficient. So these are the real reasons to why our goals feel very far away. Well, guess what? There is one solution that solves all three problems by Allah's permission, and if you take the means. And that one solution, right, is broken down in understanding that there's money to make online. There's money to make online, but where do we start? Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of information online. There's people talking about how, you can make 10K a month, or you can start this AI model, or you can, come to this mentorship program and make 5K or 3K in your first 3 months, after 3 months. So this is broken down into several different types of business models today. And look at all of these income models, or these either a business model or either a high income type of niche. And these are just some, right? There's a lot out there right now. I mean, copywriting, you heard about that, e-com, appointment setting, affiliate marketing. There's a lot. There's trading, there's middleman models, there's marketing. There's marketing is quite vast. So there's video editing, there's, graphic designing, there's web development. There's a lot out there. But where do we actually start? Where do we actually go from here? At this stage, you're probably thinking, this is just, confusing. Where do I even really start? What am I really good at? Because that's the first step. You need to realize, you need to have a clear direction and intention as to what you really want to pursue. What can I be good at? Can I become, from going from 0 to 100 in this high income niche, or before creating a business? What can I really be good at in accordance to my strengths, right? And then you plan but never execute, because we're in this day and age where we're just consuming, we're thinking ahead, and like, we're thinking about the future, we're thinking about skills that we want to build. But the real truth is, there's a fine line between planning and then executing and getting over that line. So let me help you understand that all of these income pathways you see, my dear brothers, ikhwa, pay attention. It's all of these different high income niches and business models that you're looking at, that I've showed you with the list. They all have one thing in common. They're providing value to a business. You are doing something to provide value to a business, right? Where you help a business solve a problem and literally get paid for solving it. So, to put it simply and give you and drive the point home, copywriting, right? What are you doing there? You are you are more or less forcing people to take action with words. It might be on a VSL, it might be on a landing page, it might be through email marketing. You are wording it in such a way that people just want to take action. And that's how you create money and create revenue for a company, just by using the right words and being creative with your words, right? But let's break this down. Because at the end of the day, I'm not here just to give you one simple example and, help you understand that, yeah, you do need some sort of value to give to a business before you can start making money. Now, let's reframe how we make money, okay? Making money online is solving problems for people. Skills before a business or businesses. You need the ability to do something valuable that others are willing to pay for. It's as simple as that. And it's a low cost friendly option today because it doesn't require an upfront capital. It's not very difficult. You don't need to manage a lot of things, right? And there's a lot more profitability than simply opening up a business and, having all of these extra costs and extra risks. And people simply pay thousands, ikhwa, for these skills. For example, copywriting. So how can we do this online today? Let me give you a simple framework, an easy framework to consider that inshallah ta'ala you can implement. This framework applies across all industries. The structure remains the same, whether you're learning, designing, writing, or whatever you pursue, right? Phase number 1 is all about finding a skill, right? Phase number 2 is learning that skill. And phase number 3 is getting paid for that skill. Because if you don't choose the right area you want to go into, some people jump from high income niche to high income niche to high income niche. They never master one. And that's a disease amongst the Muslims today. Like, they're starting one thing and then they got another side hustle and then they got another side hustle. And then by the time you know it, there's no real energy, effort, dedication on one key skill that they can master. And you're probably thinking like, Akib, this really isn't enough. It's quite, it's all well and good, but I need a little bit more than that. So let me make this easy for you, inshallah. Think about the functions of any business, right? Think about business. Before I go into the next slide, like, inshallah, like, you have a clear understanding and clear thinking. You're already thinking ahead, like, what are the functions of a business, right? What can we actually bring as the functions of the business? We have sales. These are the in-demand type of skills that you will find today. All right. Sales, marketing, tech and analytics, operations and management. So if you think about it like this, before we begin, right, you got to understand that there's simply quite a few skills out there right now that you can turn into income. Sales is simple. It's communication, it's understanding people, it's moving conversations forward. If you're someone who's comfortable speaking, asking questions, handling objections, sales-based roles like appointment setting and closing, we'll get into that in a second. These businesses don't survive without sales. That's why skills like this pay well. Then you got marketing. Marketing is about intention. It's about positioning. If you're more thoughtful, creative, and if you enjoy writing, editing, or thinking about how people make decisions, marketing skills like copywriting and content will suit you. Marketing brings leads into a business. It's very, very important. Without it, sales has nothing to work with. Let's think about it like that. Third is obviously tech and analytics. This is for people who like systems, logic. They like structure. They lack automations, they lack tools. So if you enjoy solving problems quietly behind the scenes, tech and analytics roles are always in demand and often undersupplied. So these skills help a business run smoothly. And then you got operation and management. This is about organization and leadership. You got process management, general operations. So if you're reliable, structured, and you're good at keeping things moving, operations is what allows a business to scale without chaos, right? So you can see there's an outcome from each different type of in demand skill. Because operations management, for example, if there's no systems, there's no growth. In tech and analytics, these keep a business running smoothly and efficiently. Marketing, they attract the leads, and sales, they after attracting the leads, they convert the leads. So each and every single function of these four are very, very super important. But how do you know which one is actually for you? That's what you might be wondering. Don't worry, I'm here to help you, inshallah ta'ala. Just remember the table that we looked at with the four different in-demand types of skills. Okay, let's look at another one to help create a better picture, and to become a lot more, give you a more clear path on where you want to be going, by looking at your type of personality and matching it to the in-demand skills. So everyone's got personality traits. Okay, and we're going to break this down. So let's look at this. You got someone who's, obviously, if you look at this table, we can see that we're going to be able to find your personality trait. And I'll show you on the next slide what I mean by this. So you got to combine it. All right. So young introvert, experienced extrovert. This is the way we should be looking at it. Now, remember this, picture this. This means your personality trait is the following. You might be young and extroverted. Okay. And if you think about it, before we talk about specific skills, we need to slow down and get honest about who you are. Most people fail early because the skill is hard. They think the skill is too hard, but because it's not that the skill is hard, it's just because they chose something that doesn't really suit the way they think, work, or communicate. So this framework is simple. I mean, if you look at experience, if you take it back a notch, if you look at experience, for example, you're either you're younger or you're still building, or you've already got work experience behind you. Now on the other axis, you have energy. You're either introverted or extroverted. This isn't about labels, or it's just about the way you are, right? So it's very important. Is very, very important that we understand this. So if you look at, going back to the slides, um, so young and extroverted, right? So if you're young and extroverted, for example, you're learning, you're energetic, you're comfortable with speaking and interacting. So certain sales roles will work out for you. If you're young and introverted, you can build leverage quietly through like writing content and things like that. So if you're experienced and introverted, tech and analytics are strong options. But we're gonna go into this. We're gonna go into this nicely and break this down for you. So pay close attention, inshallah ta'ala, okay? Now, remember this. We're gonna combine this together. So I break this down for you perfectly. Okay. So you remember this table, and you remember the personality trait table, okay? Think about it like this. So if you're young and extroverted, sales is actually a suitable field for you. Now, look, I'm not saying that someone who's young and extroverted, he can't do something like marketing. This is just a general rule of thumb, and it's a way to give you full guidance. Now, you might be, it's more likelier that if you're young and extroverted, then sales would be a good pathway for you. These are much more likelier than unlikely. So if you're young, if you can speak, and if you're very comfortable with interacting, sales is up to something that would be good for you. And if you're young and introverted, right? If you're young and introverted, then something like marketing would suit you better. If you're experienced and introverted, tech and analytics are strong options, because you have a good understanding of how work environments function, and you can add value through like systems, for example. And if you're experienced and extroverted, operations and management make sense, because you're good with people. I mean, you're good with structure. You're responsible, and you're helping a business run smoothly and scale, alhamdulillah. So the key thing to understand here, my dear brothers, is that there's no best skill. There's only the skill that fits you, that the market already needs. So the market already needs that skill, and you just got to decide where you fit into it, like which skill fits me, and vice versa. And then you can commit to actually mastering that skill. So once you actually align all of that, the progress stops, being forced and starts becoming a lot more sustainable. And you'll find that you're focusing on one key thing. Okay. So look, we fixed a big problem, alhamdulillah, which is, you got to understand how to attach the right skill to you, and how to select the right skill with real intention and go into that skill. You know what skill you would be good at. Okay. Now let me give you a bonus breakdown. These are the roles available to you based on this, or based on your skill. Sales, appointment setting, and closing. This is why appointment setting is all about people who qualify leads. They qualify leads and book them into the calendar. And guess what? The closer, who does the closing, he closes the deal. So they are intertwined, they're interconnected. They're like best friends. Consider them like a midfielder and a striker, right? Although we know these days in football, maybe you get some defenders doing assists, but typically, the appointment sets the closer up for the close. They both get is commission based, right? And the earnings could be all the way for appointment setters. They make about 1 to 5K at starting point, and they can go all the way to 6, 7K, 8K. Closers make about 5 to 12K, 15K, and in some instances, depending on the offer that you're on. Then you got marketing, copywriting, as we went through an example previously. Now, creativity it's quite broad, right? If you unpack that suitcase, there's a lot. There's video editing, there's graphics, there's web development. So there's quite a few things that you can go into there. Tech, automations, as we discussed before, the smooth running of a business, right? Keeping that business going. Data analyst, you're working in the background, you're analyzing data, so then you can pass that data on to the business so they can make data-driven decisions, right? Data is super, super important in a lot of high-ticket businesses today. Management, consulting, client success. This is where there's a little bit more leadership. You're better with people, right? You're pushing people and you're helping that business scale through managing teams or managing clients, whatever it may be. Consulting for the business, again, scaling the business. So there we have it. These are the four types of areas with the roles that are available on the online market today. And you can earn a minimum of 3K a month for providing these services. It's a minimum, right? If you get really good at it, now think about it. If you master one key skill, like, alhamdulillah, but Allah's fadl and His permission and His will and the doors that He opened for me, al-fattah, right? I mastered a skill, appointment setting. And then I created a business after I mastered that skill, because I focused on that one key skill. And now, lo and behold, I train young Muslim brothers to break free from all the things that you looked at the beginning of the presentation, moving away from the 9 to 5. I mean, alhamdulillah, we just had 2 students leave their 9 to 5 jobs and go full-time in appointment setting. We've had people in our program that have made hijrah through appointment setting. We've also had people that are a lot more financially stable, because we had a brother who went to Medina and he lived there for 3 months while on this remote type of income before returning back to his family. So this is just tangible, living proof in the pudding types of, proof that, alhamdulillah, like, I am also a living example. There's many brothers. I'm just a small fish in the big pond. There are many, many brothers online right now on YouTube who are absolutely smashing it and crushing it because they mastered a skill. Alhamdulillah. And if you haven't, obviously, if you're someone who's, if you're watching this and you're young and you're extroverted, then sales is for you, right? And appointment setting and closing, we have a course, a guided battle-tested mentorship where quitting is harder than succeeding. And I say that with absolute confidence. The brothers land roles within 45 days or less. Alhamdulillah. So check our link in the description. If that's something that, you already understand, like, this is something for me. I can actually do sales. I'm quite confident. I can speak to people. I'm good at communicating. Khalas. Check us out. See if you qualify. Inshallah, we might see you on the other side. So pick what suits you, right? Pick what suits you. It's very simple. Master it for 3 months and then apply for a role or build your own service-based business. My advice is apply for a role And if you're like a copywriter, I mean, there are roles out there where you can copyright. And again, these are all types of Wi-Fi income. People call it Wi-Fi income, right? If you want to build a service-based business, you might be doing web development. It just depends on the actual skill that you build, because you can be doing some freelancing on the side, but eventually you'll want to build your own business, right? But if you're doing appointment setting, you're just going to work. You're going to work self-employed as a self-employed entrepreneur, and you'll be hopping from job to job to job, depending on the financial rewards and the experience and the levels of your experience. And by Allah's will and your pure intentions and the means, the results and the money will follow, inshallah ta'ala. You need to take the means. You need to have tawakkul in Allah. Just like, when I remember leaving my 9 to 5 job, I had the fear of the unknown. He's naturally going to have that. But you know what? I trusted in Allah. I knew He would give me something. Of course, we're natural, we're human beings. We're going to feel a sense of, a fear. But I didn't, it was either stay where you are or actually take that leap. And for me, I had no other choice. I really wanted to leave my 9 to 5, especially because I was getting kicked out from jobs and it just wasn't working, right? And then you can be financially free. You can escape the 9 to 5 matrix and you can perform hijrah, inshallah ta'ala, by Allah's permission, as long as you have the right intention. Always reconnect with your why. So before we finish, I have one more framework to go into. It's a little bit more elaborate than the one you saw previously. So this is an action plan to actually implement, all right? A 90-day plan which consists of the following. Phase 1, orientation. Learn and understand the role. Consume crazy amount of content. Pick that skill and just consume 80% of what's out there. Yeah. Understand what the role actually looks like day to day by networking and connecting with others who provide a similar service. So you can get some insights of them. So you can learn from them. And finally, 3 people who do what you do, who do what you are looking to do and get insights. Again, like networking, connecting with others. And the outcome here would be that you have understood the ins and outs of the role. Okay. Expert. Become an expert at the skill. Ask them to train or give you feedback in this skill, whoever you've connected with. Find someone to do this for absolute free. And you might be thinking free. Well, it's the you're playing the long game, okay? And you're starting out with nothing. You're starting out with no results. We live in a day and age today where trust and values everything, right? So social proof and testimonials and results, that is what pushes the needle. So spend 2 weeks with someone doing it with absolute ihsan, so you can get yourself reviews and testimonials, and then the outcome is you have become good enough to live that service. Plus, you've picked up some reviews, even for a friend's business. Like I had one brother who did a web design for my sheikh that I study under, because he wanted to create a digital website for a marriage course. He did it for absolutely free. Lo and behold, he asked me for a review, and I gave him a great review for him, and now he's going to use that to go out there and try find clients. That's a perfect example for you. Phase 3, find your first paying client. Secure your first paid opportunity, even if it means a small amount. You might get 100, 200, 300. It doesn't matter. You're starting off somewhere. Everyone started from the bottom. People who had no experience coming into something, people who've done a career change, people who've come into my program. I had a pizza chef. I had a guy who was a restaurant worker. I had a guy who had nothing to do with sales before. I had a guy who's a mechanic. And these brothers, they do sales, right? So you have to pick up that experience. Do a good job so you can earn a good raise while you're working with that client. And at the same time, look for new clients, especially after earning and delivering a good service, because you wanna keep that residual income coming in. You want to top that up. You can't sustain yourself on one client, inshallah. And now you are delivering value and being compensated for that, right? And now you can build a consistent income and keep that flow of clients coming in, and then slowly turn that into a real business, inshallah ta'ala. Now, the path forward, because this framework is not about shortcuts, my dear brothers. It's about building a real skill and then applying it in the market, which has demand for that skill, and then improving with consistent effort. Please don't think that this is like, coming into one of these skill pathways are, get rich quick scheme. We're going to get money straight away, or, we're going to earn a lot of money. It's a journey. Just like business is a journey. You need to go through some insane levels of work. The goals you're chasing, hijrah, freedom from the 9 to 5, financial stability, are within reach, but they require mastering a skill instead of chasing a business model, which can be done later. Because just like myself, I mastered the skill first, and then I built a business model later. So the real question for me, ikhwa, is how many will actually go forward with this? How many of you will actually implement a single thing that I've given you today? Because we are today consumers and not producers. We just watch, and we just consume, right? And we just digest, but we just don't implement. That's the problem. So take action, my brothers. This is where growth happens when you have never done something before. This is where growth happens. Growth happens when you've never done something before. Just like if you go from one 9 to 5 job to another 9 to 5 job, which is completely different, you're obviously going to grow in that role, and you're going to grow in skill set, soft skills, hard skills. You're gonna grow in skills because you've never done something before. Now you're about to actually cultivate that in that role. And this is the intentional phase, my brothers. You are going into a phase, an intentional phase, where you simply will make mistakes, where you're gonna go through times of discouragement. But the key thing here is you can be discouraged, but just don't quit. Because the whole point of this is to learn, is to iterate, is to observe, is to get better, is to take feedback loops and simply get better. Just don't give up. That's the main thing. We as Muslims, we should be of high aspirations and high endeavors, because we have Allah, we have Ar-Razzaq, ikhwa. We have the provider who encompasses this entire dunya. So please understand that. The moment, I mean, it's like if you learn Allah's names correctly and you learn his attributes, his sifat, then I promise you, you'll have a lot more certainty and conviction in life. Haqq al-yaqeen, you'll have that true certainty. So alhamdulillah, I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you took something away, please implement it. Please, inshallah, subhanallah, the amount of people that watch things and just don't implement it. And inshallah ta'ala, if if you are considering sales, or if you're considering a pathway where you want to learn a high income skill and you think you might be ready for something like appointment setting, then check out the links below. We also have a free training in our school community. Well, not a free training, we've got quite a few training modules in there, alhamdulillah. And if you genuinely like the video, then please like, comment and subscribe. And inshallah, there's plenty more where this came from. I want to be able to give a lot more value to a lot of the Muslim brothers out there who are seeking an income, because I was once where you were, right? And if Allah has placed me with knowledge, beneficial knowledge of the dunya, why wouldn't I want to share that knowledge with you? Inshallah ta'ala. So barakallahu feek. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.